right, thank you, Missy.
All right, recording has started. Chair Caldwell, if you would like to call the meeting to order, it is 1:05.
Wonderful. All right, everyone, let's call this meeting to order. We will start with a call to order roll call for commission members. Vice Chair Gail Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Jesse Breckenridge.
Here.
Commissioner Carol Curtis.
Here.
Commissioner Cal McCloy.
Here.
Commissioner David Steiner.
Commissioner Steiner informed me last minute that he was unable to make the meeting today and sends his deep regards that he's not able to.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Thomas Waddell.
Present.
Thank you. Moving on to city staff, Councilmember Deb Harris.
Councilmember Harris and Director Heidi Hansen are in a city council retreat today. And then Tim Skinner and Brian had a very important meeting that they are attending, and hopefully they'll be able to join us later, but they may not.
Okay, thank you. Airport Programs Manager Adam Mealy, and I hope I said the last name correctly.
You're very, very close. Mealy, like me and behind me, Mealy.
I was way off. Okay. Thank you, sir. And Airport Communications Manager Claire Harper.
Yes.
And Admin Specialist and Recording Secretary, Miss Yella Sammer.
Present.
Thank you. Moving on to preliminary general business, public comment, participation, input. Items presented during the public participation input portion of the agenda cannot be acted upon by the commission. Individual members of the commission may ask questions of the public, but are prohibited by the open meeting law from discussion or considering the item among themselves until the item has been officially placed on the agenda. So at this time, is there any public comment, participation, input?
At this time, we have Larry Larkin, a previous airport director, here for public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Larkin, I was the airport manager here at Flagstaff Airport, 1980 through 1996. I asked to be given the opportunity to speak. 5 minutes, I think, is my limit. So I'm going to mention some things that the council is probably not aware of, or that the commission is not aware of. And some of them are interesting. This particular meeting room that the commission is in right now was designed as a restaurant galley. Anybody aware of that? Okay, you're sitting in the galley right now because the restaurant was a part of this design, and it would have been on this second level between this space and the admin space. Might mention that my 15 and a half years at the airport, we had 0 fatal accidents aboard the airport. That's within inside the fence boundary. That's nothing to brag about, but that's just a truism. We had plenty that dribbled crashes and such that dribbled off beyond the fence, but nothing aboard the airport proper. We did have at one time a contract, United States Mail airplane that based out of El Paso, Texas. They flew the mail out of Phoenix every night. It was a twin engine Lockheed aircraft, and coming back one night, well after even if the control tower was open then, and hit a 900-pound bull elk on the runway. Needless to say, it created some confusion. It did damage the aircraft a bit, but they managed to go around and land the aircraft. As a result of that, a FAA, or it was FAA money, we built the current fence that is around this airport, 20,000 linear feet of 8-foot chain link fence with 3 strands of barb on top for a 9-foot fence. And to the best of my knowledge, there have been no large animals inside since. There certainly have been coyotes, skunks, porcupines, and what have you. One other quick thing I wish to tell you about, and this is just history. When I came aboard in 1980, and for the previous years from the time that the airport was developed in 1948, 49, and 50, the airport had a 6-inch water lines supplying the airport with water and fire protection. And the sewer system was a large cavity south of where the South T hangars are right now, or where Guardian is located. That septic was pumped into that. It went bad one time. Public Works came out with dynamite and made it larger. Now, keep in mind that the airport sits on the apex of the little Colorado River drainage and the Verde drainage, which of course goes down, starts in Oak Creek Canyon. Therefore, this particular drainage headed down towards Sedona. That, of course, was fixed or taken care of when the new water and sewer was brought out from Lake Mary Road. One other quick thing, if I may.
Yes.
Once in 1981, the air traffic controllers in the United States, President Reagan was the president, and the controllers went on strike. As a result of that, our control tower was shut down. And the airport manager's office then was over a little shack over beyond where Orville is located right now. I was sitting there in the morning I went to work early because I was really dedicated. And at about 7:30 in the morning with a fog bank covering most of the airport, SkyWest Airlines in their 19-seat Metroliner was making an instrument departure on runway 21, and I observed out of the corner of my eye through the window a Mitsubishi MU-2 twin-engine aircraft making a landing, touching down on a clear spot on runway 03. Something had to give, and it did. Those aircraft collided, wingtip to wingtip, about 1,500 or 2,000 feet down runway 21. It knocked 7 feet off of the wing of the Metroliner. 19 people on board, 2 pilots, everybody walked away. That's some of my stories. I have 100 of them. And if anybody wishes to participate, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your public comment and sharing your stories with us. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Any other public comment before we move on? All right, hearing none. And thank you again, sir. Announcements, reconsiderations, changes to the agenda, and other preliminary announcements at this time, please. All right, hearing none, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of September 14th. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Commissioner Breckenridge, I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Waddell, second.
Thank you, sir. All commissioners, please unmute and say aye to approve.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you all. let's move on. I believe that we will skip the city council updates unless Councilmember Harris sent anything in.
I'm unmuted.
Councilmember Harris did not send anything in. She will be spending time at Wiseman Aviation on Tuesday and at the airport. So I'm sure she'll have a report back next meeting. But no.
All right. Great. Thank you for that, Claire. Let's move on to staff reports. Or do you want to skip that, or are you going to be reporting out, Claire?
You're stuck with me. I'll be brief.
Thank you.
So our numbers for September, as you can see, are more than August and July. July, we were certainly closed for the runway closure, but we are pretty pleased with our September numbers. Besides the spring season, you can see that that's our most enplanements this year. Compared to last year, we are down by about 3,000, and we can credit that to last year we had United at this time. So we're pleased with those numbers. United at this time last year, I think was doing 2 or 3 flights per day, and then they went down to the 1 or 2 in October. So those are our enplanement numbers. And then for operations, we had not had numbers in a few months because they are having extreme staffing shortages. Unfortunately, we don't have the September numbers yet, but we were able to get some of those summer numbers. So you can see those numbers. And again, we do have that July. The runway was closed, so we have a little dip. Other than that, our numbers remain steady.
All right. Thank you very much, Claire. Are there any questions, commissioners, for Claire before we move on to the next agenda item?
Why was, this is Commissioner Curtis, why was the runway closed?
It was closed for our runway pavement re-maintenance project, done in partnership with the Arizona Department of Transportation and their runway pavement maintenance. We had a lot of press releases, media, regional coverage, as well as down in Phoenix. So if you'd like more information on that, Commissioner Curtis, we can certainly send it your way.
That's it. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Curtis. Any other questions before we move on?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to, do we have Orb with us? Wiseman Aviation?
Since I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to see who's in the meeting right now. Missy, is anyone from Wiseman with us?
No, I was just double checking
I
the
don't.
people and I don't see anyone.
Okay, I can go ahead and share the fuel flow numbers. That's what Orville had for September. I'm not going to pretend like I know why it dipped or what it did. So we can certainly follow back up with Orville next month. I do want to share that they did receive their Sky Stairs, and I will drop a picture of that in the chat and share it with the folks in the room. I was hoping somebody would be there to share that, but they look really, really sharp, and the picture is up against an Allegiant plane. And just a reminder that Allegiant does the NAU charter football, so that's why we're seeing those larger planes in here.
Claire, I believe he also received a de-icing unit.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I'll try to find those pictures and I'll drop them in the chat.
That's great news. That's wonderful. And so we will look forward to hearing from Orb hopefully next month and learn more about the fuel dippage for September. Thank you for that, Claire. Any questions, commissioners, before we move on? All right. Moving on to project and grant updates. Project and grant updates. Adam, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Claire, when you get a chance, can we go ahead and just go to the next one? There we go. I'm going to keep my presentation a little bit short today because we do have guests coming in to give us an update on their efforts they did with our airport drainage master plan update. So I'll keep mine as short and concise as possible. The first project I would like to discuss real quick is our terminal maintenance phase 1 project. this project is kind of an eclectic group of different types of treatments within the terminal. In the air carriers area, we've got some work that's being done through there as far as drywall work and then removing and moving some doors around, as well as the picture you see on your screen here. That is the roof above that area where the carriers are, so it'd be on the west side. So it did receive a new membrane on top of that. They're right about finished with this particular bit of work. We do have a walkthrough we need to do. Their next bit of work they're going to be doing is going to be on the east side of the terminal, the flat roof over there, which would be above like the baggage handler area. That will be the next phase, and that will start next week. The anticipated timeline on that is about a week to a week and a half. And then they're going to wrap it up with their roofing work over at the observation area. You'll notice that this new seal coat is bright white, and so we are doing a different color over the observatory area for our public. So if they want to go out there, they're not getting blinded. So we're waiting for that material to come in. That's why they're kind of jumping around. Next slide, please. I'd like to talk real quick about some of our upcoming projects. And before I go through this bullet item by bullet item, I'd like to thank Larry again for our perimeter fence. The perimeter fence, you know, we do have some wildlife that do like to try to come in and say hi and get some selfies with some of our bigger planes that are out here. So because of that, we do have to do some maintenance. So we are moving forward with our maintenance project on that. And that's going to be some repairs to our top rail and some of our barbed wire that's going to be on there, as well as some of the fencing fabric that's been damaged over the time. We did have in scope some additional elements as far as doing grade beams underneath the gates and things like that, and some fencing material that would go below the grade to try to help with some of those coyotes. But came up with a little bit of a snag on that as far as from a procurement standpoint. But we are moving forward with the fencing project. So Larry, I want to say thank you again, sir. And you're right, that's a lot of fence. Terminal fire sprinkler construction, we did receive the bid for that particular project. Brian and I are currently under review of that, and we're going to get back with our contractor here shortly. And our plan is to move forward with this as fast as possible. This will be a multi-phase project. I'd like to let everybody know. So what you're seeing here is essentially a phase one. And what that's going to entail is we're going to replace the existing sprinkler lines. That will be our phase one. And then the phase two will be to clean up the drywall and the other pertinences that we need to modify in order to replace these. So that'll be our phase two. And hopefully we can look at also doing some flooring upgrades, and that will be an additional phase. But I just wanted to let the commission know that this is a multi-pronged, multi-phase project, and we are moving as fast as we can on that. Airfield maintenance phase 4, we did receive the numbers from the contractor on that. And what this primarily entails is a lot of work on the air side. We're going to be doing a refresh of all of the markings on both aprons, both commercial and GA, and over by the FBO as well. We're doing a complete refresh of all of the markings, including the movement boundary restriction, markings as well. In addition to that, we are modifying the current lighting in the staff parking area up here towards the north of the terminal in the recycled pavement lot. We're going to go from that portable unit to actual poles in the ground with some light fixtures in there that will make it a little bit easier for both staff and also just from a bookkeeping standpoint as well. So that'll go to a dark skies compliant lighting in that area as well. So that's part of that airfield maintenance phase 4. We have already mentioned the perimeter fence maintenance project. And then we also just received a bid for the the ARF station maintenance phase 1. What that entails is the exterior painting, as well as we have some exposed steel beams on the outside of the structure that is hasn't been really updated since it was put in. So we're seeing some rust on there. So we're going to get that treated and get that primer and paint back on there. So that way we can keep that building looking good and operating well in the future. Thank you, Claire. And this was the same slide we saw last month, but I wanted to give you a quick update of where we are on the snow removal equipment building. So that particular project is moving forward at great speed. This week, last Wednesday, our design consultants submitted to city staff for review for their site plan analysis and plan package review. So the city is starting to review that. That was also shared with our FAA counterparts. We'll start our review and give comments back on that. As I mentioned previously, we did ask the FAA to move forward on this particular project with what's known as an alternative delivery method. So basically, we requested to the FAA to move forward with this particular project with a CMAR, which is Construction Manager at Risk. We think that it will benefit not only the taxpayers and staff, but going with that particular type of delivery system and with the volatility of current building materials, they can lock that information in there a lot faster. We think we can shave off several months to the delivery of this project. So we turned that into FAA. They did a determination and they approved us to move forward with that delivery system. As such, staff has pulled together all of the solicitation information with our procurement and also our legal team, reviewed all of that, pulled all of that package together, and then this will be going out to not only the FAA for their final review and concurrence, as well as ADOT as well, because they're a partner in this particular project. I'm anticipating that come spring, we're going to see some movement on this particular project, some earthwork. This will be a multi-phase project because of our grant, our funding. We're anticipating a total of 3 grants for this project to get it all set, all done. We have received our first one, and so we are moving forward. Any questions thus far? Okay. Also, I'd like to kind of circle back around the community's favorite topic, and that's going to be our paid parking. We have been reviewing on a daily basis some of the calls we get, and some of the, by calls, I mean, if there was an issue with somebody leaving or entering, if they've got questions, there's a help or call button on the pedestals, and we document those. And so we, as being staff, have been reviewing those and working with Scheit and Bachman, the group that supplied these particular instruments, and trying to tweak it in such the program in such a way that it's more efficient and we get less calls. And so we've made modifications, not only the way the cameras are when you pull in, so that way the license plate readers work more efficiently. We've also, as we mentioned last time, installed our dedicated backup lines to that, or battery backups. And because of that, we've seen a reduction by nearly 70% in the amount of calls that we get. The majority of the calls we're receiving are lost tickets. And so we're working with the supplier again to see maybe if we need to look at different type of media for those tickets. But on average, we're looking at about 3 to 4 a day for a 24-hour period on lost or unreadable tickets. So it's moving forward. We are still working with the vendors and the contractors to streamline this a little bit better. Questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Adam. I do have a question. So when someone does lose their ticket, what happens? How do we handle that?
Okay, the current methodology for that, if somebody loses a ticket, because we cannot really, our camera systems were not capturing all of the license plates, it's nearly impossible to determine when they entered the lots. So the current directive is to let the person leave. Now, we've had to do that a dozen or so times, and to be honest, I'm surprised with the amount of people that come back and want to pay for some kind of money for that, but we don't have a way to collect that. So typically, as it stands right now, the directive is to open the gate and let them out.
Okay.
But with the, again, I want to go back to stressing the importance of us going back and doing that sensitivity analysis with our camera system. We're seeing that a better improvement with at least the tickets being unreadable, because now the machine will automatically say, okay, there's your license plate. Here you are now. This is how long you were there. And all of that transaction can happen without that ticket that's dispensed at the time of entry.
So I wonder, you know, if the word would get out to other people that, hey, just say that you lost your ticket and they'll let you out. I just, you know, I think that way. So it'd be interesting to follow that and see how that plays out.
Which is why the importance of us trying to make sure that we get that plate reader working well. So that way it circumvents that call button altogether.
Right, right.
Do I have any other questions from commission?
I do have one item, and it's really not a big deal, but I think it would be helpful, you know, when presenting on the projects, when you list phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, it would be interesting to see if we're in phase 1, how many phases are there for that project? Just so we would have an idea, you know, maybe an easy visual or something like that. Just a suggestion, but thank you, Adam, for your wonderful report, very detailed. Commissioners, any other comments or questions for Adam? All right, hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And let's move on to.
So there's actually needed.
Yes, at this point in time, we'd like to, I'm sorry, commissions, the second portion of my presentation is going to be, we're reporting back out to the drainage master plan update that we performed with Mead and Hunt.
Yes.
We have a slideshow we'd like to go through. I would like to, first of all, thank everyone that's in attendance, and also just kind of report back on this particular project. It's very important for us to maintain our drainage master plan, because it not only affects day-to-day operations, but when we have other projects that could be coming towards the project or towards the airfield, it's nice to know what we have and if there are any kind of implications to those projects. I'm not going to pick on any one project of concern or anything like that, but like the JW Powell extension, for example, it's nice for us to get this documentation down. So when they start working on their design for that roadway that's going to be alongside the airport, we have all of our documentation kind of packed up. And as Larry mentioned, you know, we are kind of on that great divide from watersheds. And so it's really important that we kind of identify what we have going on outside of the fence line as well as the inside. So we've been working with Mead and Hunt for some time now on this particular project. We've wrapped everything up, and what we asked them to do was come before you all and give you a quick presentation as to what we've done, what we found, and what some of the conclusions are. Today, we're going to have two presenters. We're going to have Carrie Nichols. She's the project manager. She has 25 years of knowledge and experience with water resources engineering, which consists of performing hydraulic and hydraulic computations, design drainage infrastructure improvements, leading multidisciplinary teams delivering workable solutions. Carrie has worked on numerous airport projects throughout the Western United States, providing innovative water resource solutions complying with the FAA, the Clean Water Act, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, mapped floodplains, and other state and local resource regulations. Carrie was the project manager and the engineer of record for this master plan update, and she will be accompanied by Bob Thane. Bob has 24 years of civil engineering experience, including intensive analysis and design work in water resources. Bob has generated numerous hydrology and hydraulics models for airports drainage projects. His roles have included project planning, analysis and design, construction management, and inspection of projects, including large culvert replacements, stream restoration, and storm drain systems that is used on numerous hydraulic models. His ability to provide effective project solutions is rounded out with related experience in stormwater master planning, floodplain analysis, low impact development design, and roadway design. Bob served as the lead project engineer for the Flagstaff drainage master plan. So without further ado, and we have Scott as well. So we have Scott, Bob, and Carrie. Scott, you want to start us off and then give it over to Carrie for me, please?
Yeah, certainly. This was unexpected. I just wanted to show my face and present a good solid background for Mead and Hunt. Hello, I'm Scott Van Gumpel. I'm the, I guess you'd call me the airport program manager, not to get in the way of Adam, but on the consulting side for Mead and Hunt, we do provide services on the airport for a number of things at Flagstaff. We've been very fortunate to be able to work with your team for a handful of years, even before the new regime has been put in place. So I only have 23 years of experience. So I guess we kind of keep going down as we get to the next person, but I'm responsible for airport engineering construction. So we often utilize the drainage master plan as part of our initial studies to understand the full scale and scope of projects before we get into going out and performing a taxiway construction or runway type construction project. So it's just one element that we fold into our projects, as well as the pavements and different other things that come into play. So I'm here to support the team, and just looking forward to hearing the presentation from Carrie and Bob as to their findings on this project site.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Adam and Airport Commission, for giving us the opportunity to come and present today on our study and our findings. It's been a wonderful opportunity to work with the airport and city staff. We look forward to continuing that working relationship as well. So I'll be talking about first the master plan goals, and then and a little bit of the project, or excuse me, the plan components, and then I'll be passing it off to Bob, and you'll hear mostly from him as he talks through the existing conditions and the proposed conditions and recommendations that came out of the plan and the study. So the airport drainage master plan goals, and thank you for running the PowerPoint slide. We'll give you a key when we need to go to the next slide. So the airport drainage master plan goals were really to provide a comprehensive guide to stormwater management associated with the future build out of the airport properties. So we looked at stormwater collection, conveyance, water quantity, as well as quality design, and really looking to focus on airport protection and the environmental protection within the airport environment that support regional stormwater management goals and strategies. So the plan, next slide, please, was broken into various components. First, we did an existing conditions assessment, so inventorying the existing site conditions and existing drainage conditions. Then we took the recommendations from the from the airport master plan, and also then the identified areas of drainage concerns that we identified from the existing condition plan, and we put together a proposed condition. So the proposed condition looked at future build out of the airport based on the master plan recommendations as updated through the airport CIP program, broken into short-term projects, intermediate and long-term projects. And then we put together proposed airport improvements. So looking at conceptual level designs and cost estimates to address those areas of existing flooding concerns, as well as addressing project improvements for the short term. Then we put together high-level recommendations for those intermediate and longer-term projects as they have a little more uncertainty as far as the scope and timeline. So next slide, I'll pass it over to Bob and he'll tell you more about the existing conditions and then into the proposed conditions work.
Thank you, Carrie. But before I jump into the slide here, on my screen, I'm seeing a side-by-side view of 2 slides. Is it possible to get just a single slide there so we can see the images better?
Yeah, thanks for, I didn't realize that. Thanks for letting me know.
Might be just the basic version.
Does anyone
Basic display.
basic display?
If you go
Right.
slideshow and just the far left, play from beginning, or yeah, one of those.
I think
Beginning, go to beginning and then we'll just go to this slide, right, the appropriate slide.
I am clicking on it. My computer's having a little.
Oh, okay.
I,
Would you like me to try it from my end?
yeah, because what do you see now? If you want to share your screen, that would be much easier. I apologize. We usually have a different driver, but we were having some issues. So I'll stop sharing. And if you're able to share, Bob, that would be much appreciated.
Bob, you want, okay, you're good, Sharon. Okay.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I had no idea.
There, okay. At least on my screen, that's the more zoomed in view.
Yep, thanks.
We see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that will help a little bit. And we know some of the graphics and items we add in here, you can't really see the detail during a visual presentation like this, but it does give a concept, an idea of some of the materials we put together that were in the report. So we get to look at something and you don't just have to listen to me and look at words. As far as the existing conditions assessment, again, that's taking a look at the hydrology, hydraulics, the runoff and flooding issues in the current state. So we have a baseline to look at, to compare against when we're looking at adding other projects and doing future improvements. Just a quick overview, and we'll have additional slides on each of the sub bullets here. We looked at, local and federal, state, all those design codes and references. I'll touch on that briefly. Look at some of the software modeling methods that we utilized. Get a look at some of the actual results, some visual information there, and some other flooding areas of interest, which is kind of the juicy part of the existing conditions assessment. We can hop to the next slide. Oh, wait, that's me now. Sorry.
Don't worry, I clicked.
Making the transition here. Okay, design codes and references. Lots of words and text here. I know everybody on the call is used to documents and whatnot. Some of these you might even recognize the names of, starting at the city level there with the design manuals and other information. We also looked at what is for us some of the juicy parts of the county and state codes with regard to modeling and stormwater and flood control design. And then, of course, since this is an aviation project, the FAA advisory circulars for drainage design and for managing hazardous wildlife attractants comes into play, since we don't want to be managing stormwater with ponds and wetlands on aviation projects, because that attracts wildlife, which we don't want. Getting into some of the technical parts on the software side of things, the hydrology and the hydrologic modeling looks at how much water we have, taking into account local and statistical rainfall information, running it through some software simulations to allow different storm events to apply water to the surface, looking at how that flows, how it channelizes on the surface. We did use a program called Flow2D, which looks at how the surface water moves across the surface, where it congregates, where it gets deep and flows. We did gather a lot of data and do a lot of processing with that. As was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting here, the airport is kind of at the top of the hill there and has water draining in multiple directions. And we'll see more of that in the results too, but essentially we have water leaving the property line almost in every direction. Apart from the rainfall information, then we get a little more dialed in and technical, looking at, okay, what do we have for inlets and pipes on the airfield, around the buildings, around the parking lot and roads. Those we also did some modeling in Flow 2D, also a software package called HY8 that looks specifically at flow velocities and depths in pipes. We did do a lot of capacity checking. WEIRS at the bottom of the list there, for anybody who doesn't know, that's like a miniature dam and is sometimes used for flow control, for slowing down water, either so we're not flooding the neighbors or causing erosion problems. And there are some WEIR structures on the airfield, or not on the airfield, but on the property. And here we start to get into some results. I have 3 different slides covering 6 different storm events. So we'll see more and more water accumulation in the results here as we move through. Down there at the bottom, we see some color coding. The light blue is water depths up to approximately 6 inches, half a foot. And then it doubles with the green to a foot, doubles again in the yellow up to 2 feet of depth, doubles again with the orange up to 4 feet, and then red would be above that. For the 2-year event and the 5-year event, your more common storms, yeah, we do see some surface water, we do see some water flow, not any real issues there, and it is, where we expect it to be. I'll move to the next slide here. We've got our 10-year and 25-year events. We do see, deeper flow depths, water in more area as expected. Let you look at that for just a second. Not a whole lot more to say about that. And then I'm going to move on to the 3rd slide of this group, the 50-year event and 100-year events. And we are starting to see some flow in the red there, some depths of over 4 feet. Some of those are near the airfield. Some of those are further away from the airfield. Some of those are expected with the topography and with where water is intentionally being directed. But I'll step into some key locations on an upcoming slide here. As part of our study, we did identify 11 areas of interest where we have water that's 2 feet or deeper in the 100-year event. And these are some of the ones we paid keen attention to as we were moving forward throughout the rest of the study and analysis. Again, some of these are near the buildings or parking lots. And again, not all of these are surprises. They're just ones that we tagged. We have some deep water here. Is that a problem or is it not a problem? Sometimes it's not. Do we want to take an action? Do we not want to take an action? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And I'll get to that in the proposed condition analysis. As far as looking at the proposed conditions assessment, like Carrie said, we did take into account short-term projects that the airport has, intermediate term, long-term projects, and taking a look at with those projects in the ground, what are we expecting for runoff needs and stormwater management needs. This is a composite map, and again, I don't expect you to be able to read it, so naughty on me for putting it on here. But it was a graphic we were using in the study that does kind of show the breadth of projects across the airfield here. We've got some short-term projects in red, It's in 0 to 5 years. We've got 5 to 10-year projects as intermediate in yellow. We have some long-term projects, purple, in the 10 to 20-year area. And then again, looking at some of those spots we tagged during the existing condition analysis as flooding areas of interest, those are marked with green spots on here. Know if do we want to do questions in between here? If not, I can come back to this slide if needed. But for time, I'll keep moving if that's okay.
Questions?
Was there a question? I think I heard a question.
Maybe that was just Adam telling me to go.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Go
Perhaps. Okay. With the proposed condition analysis, we went through a lot of the same steps as the existing condition. I'm not going to go through all the same information and same data for those proposed projects that are adding new pavement, adding a new taxiway, making a building or parking lot adjustment. We did add impervious surfaces and pavement in the model. So we have less water infiltrating into the ground, more water running off, and then checking to make sure we have a plan for managing that. With that here, we did look at some potential detention projects. So capturing and holding some of that water for slower release offsite. Again, not causing downstream flooding, not causing erosion problems. And instead of showing all 6 views like I did for the existing condition, I'll just show the 100-year view here as it's the most interesting. You know, from the 30,000-foot view, it's pretty similar, not a whole lot of changes. And again, I'm not going to try to get into all of that, but we did look at those impacts. Where do we have more water? And do we have an action plan for handling that? So we stay within all the codes and regulations for stormwater control, stormwater treatment, et cetera. On this slide, I guess one of the things I want to touch on is that from that existing condition analysis and the flooding areas of interest, which we did go into more depth in the study and in kind of a conglomerate presentation of the existing conditions to the airport. We selected 3 particular areas where we thought recommendations would be in order for future projects or integration with other future projects. And I think on this on an upcoming slide, we'll go into how we went through that process. But we do have concept level alternatives with cost estimates that go with that. Looking at those existing flooding concerns, looking at short-term projects, and then some high-level recommendations with the intermediate and long-term projects. We did go through a alternatives analysis using a matrix design, looking at high, low, medium impacts and benefits for all of the different areas that we were looking at. Again, I've told you we boiled it down to 3, but we did look at, and I'm going to read this list here: flooding concerns, snow management, operations and maintenance, regional stewardship, resiliency and sustainability, concurrence with the master plan and capital improvement program, code compliance, construction dollar efficiency. So those are the topics that went into our matrix when we were doing our alternatives analysis. Out of that, we do have 4 preferred alternatives here. And some of these combine projects between the flooding areas of interest, between short-term, long-term, et cetera. I will jump into these right here. Preferred alternative 1 is related to taxiway whiskey. Some of the changes that are planned in the near future. And then as far as stormwater management, looking at that in conjunction with future terminal expansion and with what was area of interest 5 for flooding. Further north from the terminal building, our preferred alternative 2 does look at area of interest 9, which had some flooding and erosion issues adjacent to the perimeter road and the taxiway. And we'll get into a little deeper depth on those. Preferred alternative 3 looked at area of interest 12, which is an infield area, which has been known to have standing water in it. That is not the airport's favorite thing. And preferred alternative 4, that's on the long range side with long range planning for future development on the other side of the airfield. In brief, I'm not going to go into super depth on these slides here. This just shows a brief summary of some of the exhibits we put together in the report for the airport, looking at some of these alternatives, summarizing what they served, what the associated costs would be, looking at some of the detailed costs of how we got into those. So this, I'm just showing this slide quickly as an example of some of the materials we put together for the airport. Digging in deeper on preferred alternative 1, again, like I said, this does serve multiple projects and looking at kind of a uniform, efficient solution. The ponding area of interest is in the top right portion of this graphic where there is an existing detention basin, and our preferred alternative, preferred solution for helping to manage additional runoff and continued stormwater management from multiple projects, taxiway projects, terminal projects, would be to expand that existing detention pond. Like I said, some of the deeper depths from the existing condition analysis were known areas. It's not a flooding concern. There is a detention pond there. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. That is good. But for serving multiple projects here, we did put together this preferred alternative that utilizes existing infrastructure, existing pipes, to some grading costs, some improvements, does provide, we think, a cost-effective, low maintenance solution that serves multiple key elements here. Jumping over to preferred alternative 2, there is some known erosion issues, some known capacity issues with culverts outside the airfield along the perimeter fence next to the taxiway. We did look at some analysis for upsizing some culverts, improving some channels, doing some cleaning of an existing detention area. And part of this work, the airport has already started folding into and integrating with some existing and continued projects with perimeter fence maintenance. So portions of this are already underway and portions of this can be folded into upcoming projects. Preferred alternative 3, which I know the airport will be happy about, is looking at some nuisance ponding that was happening within the airfield. We do have what we think is an improvement there that reduces blockages of an inlet, gives some additional options for kind of a tiered approach for grates along the slope there to help get water out of this area. It's a very long infield area, collects a fair amount of water. Our analysis shows that the pipe capacity going underneath the taxiway is sufficient. It's just a matter of upgrading the inlet there so we don't get standing water there, don't have that same nuisance, and reduces attractants for wildlife. We didn't include a lot of information or anything beyond the initial thoughts on alternative 4, which is the future development on the other side of the airfield. Because that's way out there. We did provide some information to the airport. It's in the report. I'll stop talking and hand the mic back to Carrie here as she summarizes. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And yeah, there will be an opportunity for questions just next after this slide. So our next steps is we have finalized the plan. I've sealed it as the licensed professional engineer. And the plan is to be a guiding document for the airport. So it's a living document to serve as informing the airport about the drainage conditions and potential improvements that need to occur as development occurs, as well as addressing some of the known flooding areas of concern, as Bob mentioned. And then today was really just to inform you all about the contents of the plan. And next slide, we'll take any questions you may have for us.
Great, thank you so much. I do have a question for you. How does the plan address potential environmental impacts and ensure sustainability in the long term?
A good question. So we had, as part of the study work, we did prepare an environmental assessment, building off of the work that was done with the airport master plan. And so that, and updating it to current day. So looking at what sort of, any areas of concern with regard to endangered species, which there aren't any present on the airfield or of concern. We also looked at wetland and waterways, and we did identify one potential wetland area on the northeast side of the airport. So taking that into consideration with future development will be important. There are and then as far as sustainability and other environmental resiliency considerations as part of the regional goals of the community, we did, consider recommendations for low impact development and, what type of looking at then these larger storm events, the 100-year storm event, also to consider resiliency into the system as well. Is it Bob or Adam? Anything you want to add to that?
Not to your response, no, but we do have another question here when we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, please go right ahead.
This is Commissioner Waddell. How much, with this plan, how much did you look at outside the perimeter fence for encroaching in development? There's a lot of open space that's being looked at for future residential and commercial development near the airport. How is that going to integrate with any other development? I mean, are you guys looking at, hey, if they build something here, this is going to completely alter our plan, that kind of thing?
Bob, maybe you want to go to the slide 4 at the very beginning, which shows the boundary of the study limits.
This one?
Thank you. Yes. So the green line work is the current airport property boundary, and the red line work is the sort of ultimate airport property, which was the area of the study limits. So that was our focus area of the study. I hope that maybe addresses a little bit of your question there.
And I will add, on the north and east and south sides of the airport, water is essentially draining away from the airport. So the only possible impacts other development would be like to block a waterway or a channel, which they wouldn't be able to do as part of their development review process. On the north westerly side, there is some land that drains towards the airport property, but then essentially turns and goes through existing conveyances, either northeasterly and Bow and Arrow Wash. And one of the things we did discuss throughout the entire process was the future development of the Wesley Powell Parkway, if I got the name right. So we know there will be some roadway development there, and the airport will be, keenly interested in how that interacts with everything here. But it wouldn't affect the airfield drainage per se. And there are bits of pieces of land, around the parking lot area that might drain slightly towards the airfield. Again, those would have their own development process. They should have their water quality and stormwater management in place. And we're not expecting those to have any adverse impact to the airfield drainage or airport drainage.
Thank you, Bob and Carrie. Commissioner, there's one other element too that was part of the bigger scope of the project. When we did the runway extension 2010, I want to say, we extended the 321 towards the north. And when we did that, there was some changes that was incorporated with the weir structures and what have you. And what we did is we did what's known as, we're going through the process of doing a LOMAR, so a letter of map revision. Why is that important? Well, it's important because we wanted to get that done. So when there is development towards the north or with that intersection of JW Powell, and they have to work with FEMA. Well, if we have that map revision in there, then it kind of locks us in there that they're going to have to follow all of those strict guidelines. We wanted to make sure this was done before JW Powell extension was done, for that very simple reason, because we didn't want to burden the airfield with any other potential impacts that structure may have. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
So even if they develop adjacent to the VOR, which I don't ever see that, but if they were hypothetically, and they're going through their planning process and their review process, they would have to go through the FEMA, because that Bow and Arrow wash through there. As you get more towards the north and towards the east of the airfield itself, becomes basically waters of air, waters of the U.S. So it adds more safeguards for us here. Does that help?
Yep.
Thank you, Carrie. Bob.
You're welcome.
And was there anything else you want to add to that, Carrie?
Nope, very good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and present this very interesting information. Commissioners, are there any questions before we move on? All right, hearing none, Carrie, Bob, and Scott, very much appreciated.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
And Bob, if you could stop sharing your script, perfect.
All right, and we will move on to Claire Harper with the Communication and Business Update. Claire.
We're just
One
getting,
moment.
we're getting to the right
We're
page.
getting back on there. Okay, thank you, Mead and Hunt. My update will not be as thorough as yours, but we'll keep it short because we are a little bit short on time, and that was a wonderful presentation. The first thing is restaurant. I'm sorry.
You do have the dual screen again, just as an FYI.
Yeah, I don't, does anyone know how I get, it's because I'm presenting and sharing my screen. Does anyone know how to fix that?
I think if you go up to the top under display settings, if not, we'll just run like it is.
Not before, but we'll try again.
On the top, yeah.
And then, whoa, brilliant.
Thank you, Misty.
Little flustered over here if you can't tell. Okay, very important things. Airport restaurant update. Unfortunately, on Monday, last Friday, Director Gall did receive notice that the selected vendor has withdrawn through the discussion process. They feel that the space doesn't meet their business needs or their business concepts. So we will at some point go out for another RFP, a request for proposal, but that will not be immediate, and we may make some changes and see where our shortfalls were. So we are disappointed about that, but we're hopeful that we're going to be able to find another solution. In the meantime, we're going to work on upping our vending. So we have a few more options for people because we hear a lot of feedback. People expect to be able to find food besides a pop and a candy bar at the airport. So we're working on that. We can't say much, but any questions regarding the restaurant? Hearing none. Commission vacancies, as we mentioned last meeting, Commissioner Steiner, Commissioner Malloy, as well as Chair Caldwell's terms have expired. We certainly thank all of them for serving, and we thank them even more for attending today's meeting, or else we would not have a quorum. As of now, we need one more application for appointments to go forward to City Council. So if you know anyone that's interested, we're putting it out on social media. There's a few people around the airport I'm going to encourage to apply, but if you know anyone, certainly send them my way, or everything's online, or you guys know how to do it. So we would really like to have those tied up maybe in the next week or two, which is a tall order. But then if that's the case, the council needs about 2 weeks to make their appointments. And then at the next meeting in November, we would be able to introduce our new folks, as well as have a little recognition for our previous folks sending, and then we'll certainly move into new leadership as well with Commissioner Caldwell's term expiring. So again, thank you very, very much, Chair Caldwell and Commissioner Malloy, for attending today, because we wouldn't be able to have the meeting without you, and we certainly want to. Our airport advertising is currently on hold. I think I mentioned it briefly in the previous meetings. That is a directive by City Council. They are looking at all city facility advertising. It was brought forward to council on, I want to say October 8th. I'm not sure. If you have a question, I can certainly send you the presentation and you can go back and watch it. At that meeting, they did not make a decision regarding facility advertising. We put together a policy, so it would be across the board, not just at the airport, but they would like to continue that discussion. And so that will be on November 7th. Air service attraction. In the next 2 weeks, I'll be meeting with Allegiant, American, Breeze, Delta, Southwest, Sun Country, and United in Kentucky and Lexington. And these are called airport roundtables. They're very informal. It's a smaller group, and you're able to really get some one-on-one time and get to know the airport or the airline folks and share what about our airport is special. So these have actually, I've gone to multiple, and they've led to some really good conversations. So we are hopeful that we're continuing those conversations and really just continuing those relationships, so we're on the radar and they know about us. So excited to do that. Regarding our passenger demand analysis, which will help aid us in air service attraction, we should have our updated one any day now. So we're really excited, and we'll certainly share that with you. And so that just has a big snapshot of where the passengers are, where they're coming from, and that will help aid future airlines in choosing what destinations would be a good asset to our community. And then finally, we have our 75th anniversary celebration. I have sent you all an invite a while ago, and we'll also get some out into the mail. I will ask that you do RSVP so we know that if we need to have a quorum or not. If you're unable to attend, totally fine. Everyone has lots of things going on, but we do have some really nice goodies and commemorative items to share with you. So you can I can mail those to you, or you can swing by at the airport and pick those up at a later date. That is all I have. Any questions regarding any of the topics touched on?
All right, thank you very much, Claire, for the update. Yeah, so the next item, informational item, I think you had given us the airport restaurant update, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, the RFP ended up being merged into the communications update here, so.
Okay, wonderful. I think the slide that was just up, yep. Our next meeting will be November 9th. Please RSVP and let Claire know if you will be attending. And all right, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? Commissioners?
Chair Codwell, one final thing is that I was trying to drop it in the chat, but it wasn't working. We will send out the PDF of the presentation from Mead and Hunt, though that everyone has access to it.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Waddell, motion to adjourn.
Wonderful. Do I hear a second? Second?
Second, Mikhail McCloy.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor, unmute, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We will see you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone.